how are you? Today's video is something I've been wanting to film for a really long time and I finally got around to it, but we're going to talk about how I set up my cage layouts, how I figure out where to put things, how I decide what things need changed, just some tips and tricks that I use to set up my rat cage. So stay tuned for that. So the first thing is bedding. I use kiln-dried pine. Studies are showing that this is one of the best beddings for your rats. Another good option is aspen shavings. Both are completely safe. In fact, the kiln drying process is what removes the phenols from the pine, which is the dangerous oils and smell that used to exist in it. But once it's kiln dried, that's removed, and it is the best for ammonia control and odor absorption. Used to be thought that this was not safe, but that was because it was not kiln dried previously. And in the United States, it is required to be kiln dried in order to be sold for pet use. So, kiln dried pine, aspen are both safe. Other bedding options that are safe are other option. Hemp is also safe. In the US, it's kind of hard to get, but it is safe. And also equine cardboard. It is a special treated and prepped cardboard, shreds, chunks. I don't even know how to describe it, but it's literally like little tiny squares of cardboard and it's very absorbent. It's very common overseas, and I'm just starting to see it come over in the United States through certain horse supply shops. So that's an option. Some people do use fleece or paper bedding, but those will need to be changed every day. Fleece, if it has an absorbent layer underneath it, needs to be changed every 2 to 3 days. Not really an ideal option. It's also important to note that fleece does not provide any sort of enrichment options for digging and burrowing. Rats also often chew it, which means that you will need to mend it. I do have videos on my channel for how to make fleece liners and how to mend them, because obviously there are some rats whose respiratory systems don't handle other beddings, or maybe their skin doesn't. So I do have those. I'll put links up here, but please note that I do not use those any longer because they're really not the best options for your animals. Now with that said, let's do the next thing. So the next thing that I'm going to talk to you about is wheels. So most people have wheels from the pet store and they are too small for rats. Adult rats, females are going to need a 14-inch wheel and males are going to need a 16-inch wheel. And I'm going to show you what that looks like in comparison to the largest size you can find at the pet store. One moment. This is a 12-inch wheel. This is the largest size that you can find at PetSmart, unless things have changed in the last couple of weeks, because I was in there not terribly long ago. This is a 16-inch wheel. Try to get these next to each other. You see the difference? So you want a wheel that your rat can run on with its back straight. Smaller wheels don't allow that unless the rat is really small as well. Now, the problem is wheels are also extremely expensive. So you do not have to get a wheel for your rat. It is not a requirement. It is not a necessity. If they enjoy them, sure, get a wheel for your rat. But it is an extremely expensive thing to get, and if they get enough exercise in other ways, a wheel is not necessary. I am replicating a specific layout today, so I'm going to put a wheel in my cage because Fudge likes one, and we're going to be using this bad boy. This one is from Pandamonium Pets on Etsy. This is not the silent one. They came out with that like 2 weeks after I bought this wheel, which is kind of a bummer, but whatevs. So yeah, I've got to find my hardware and my bins under the cage and put that in, but it runs on a bearing. It's not silent, but it's not super loud either. So I'm going to scrub it real quick because I just noticed that it apparently was put away dirty, and then stick it in the cage. So the next thing you're going to want to do is put your large objects in the cage and then figure out how your rats can get from one object to the other. And you can do this a couple of different ways. You can make it so that they can climb on things, hop on them, that sort of thing. You can put tunnels in to make it so that they can get from place to place through that. A couple of my boys are actually a little too big for these tunnels right now, but they still like to climb on top of them, so I use them. But then the other way you can do that is with perches, and there's all different kinds of perches. You can get cheap branches from Walmart. You can get bird perches, which look like these, and you can put those in. You can get little wooden perches like this, but you need some way to give your rats to get around from place to place. I'm going to put in 2 hammocks, and then I'll tell you how I figure out if things are close enough together or far enough apart and that sort of thing for my boys. I've got all my big items in the cage, so the next thing we're going to do is look at how the rats can safely get from the ground to each of these items. So what I tend to use is my hand, because about from my wrist to my fingertip is about as long as my rat's little feet stretch. So if my hand can easily reach from here to here, then they can get in. And that's even if it's a little wobbly. My boys actually like things a little wobbly. So we've got from floor to here, they can jump a little, but even if they fall from this height, it's not going to harm them, so that's good. They can jump to the top of this, I know, and you'll see that's slightly longer than my hand. So I just am using that as kind of a general guideline, but so they can hop up here and get in the hammock, they can hop up here and get on the ladder, and then from here they can get to either of these items. So this is good. I could use another item here, and I might put some ropes in just as another fall breaker, because you really don't want anywhere that they can fall if they climb on stuff. And right now if they climb on this, they're going to roll right to here. I might need something here then as a result. And then the lava ledges that I just cleaned are going to have to go somewhere over here to make a way for them to get from here up on this side, because right now this area is too open. There is a lot of danger when the cage is open like this. We had a person who's very experienced had their rat somehow fall from the top of the cage to the bottom, and I know this person uses so many fall breakers. Don't know what the rat hit on its way down, but it cut itself all the way through to the muscles, and it was a really bad injury. So having things to catch your rats if they fall is really important. We still don't know what it was. Person has looked through their whole cage. No one is really sure. So we're going to add some more things. I'm thinking those branches would be good here. There's just something extra to climb on. So I think I'm going to go ahead and put those in. And then I'll put the lava ledges in, because hopefully they will be dry by then. I think this is where I've ended up with this cage layout. Sorry. So we've got, I put a new ladder that I made in the back there. At some point I might make a video for that. It was kind of long and it was not hard, but it did require power tools. So if you want to learn how to make it, let me know in the comments and I will make a tutorial for that. This is also just a little one I made. It's more like a swing than a ladder because it's so tiny. But I thought it would help fill some extra space and give them something to stand on. And then we've got our hammocks in the back. We've got a tube going up. So you can see that a rat could get to this. This is about the same height as here. So here, here, up to there, to there, to the top levels. They can get there. They can come down these sticks to here, down to the ground, and they can use that tube in the back. So then the last thing that you want to consider when you're building a cage layout is chew toys and toys in general. Now, all of these things are enriching for them because they're climbing, they can chew on them, and that's fun, but rats like to chew a lot. Most rats do anyways, not all of them. Some don't chew hardly anything, but I know for a fact that caramel and fudge do. So with that in mind, I need to put some things in, and what I've got in the back currently is our giraffe with the bones on the corners. He's kind of hard to see because he's hiding in the very back, but he's back there. They chew on the rope part and they chew on the bones. They've got a chew toy up here, and I'm going to put some more of these hanging ones in various places in the cage specifically in the back corner there. I'd like to hang one so it's kind of here, or maybe even in the middle, I'm not sure. One at the back there where the back of that hammock is, and I would like to put one in this corner as well. I find that my rats tend to chew on corners of things, so having chew toys in those spots really helps to prevent them chewing on things I don't want them to chew. So I'm gonna do that, and then the cage will be done. Put a chew toy here. I've put one in each corner of the litter box, one here, and one in the back over here. I'm not sure how well that's coming off on the camera. And then there's one in the very back corner as well. So you'll notice that while the cage is busy and there's stuff to do, there's not a lot on the floor. There's two reasons for this. One, I have larger male rats, so I want them to have enough room to move. The second is because floor space is important with rats. Although they like to climb, they don't climb by default. They are not a tree dwelling animal. They are fossorial and dwell on the ground. So I scatter their food in the bedding, and that's how I feed them, and that gives them foraging opportunities. And I also usually scatter food in any baskets I have bedding in as well. So this gives them enough room to move around and not feel like they're right on top of each other. So I think this is done. I am going to get Rattos and put them in, and we'll see what they think. I just thought of one more thing. Water bottles should go on the outside of the cage with the nozzles pointing inward. There's one on each side. If your water bottle is glass, it can go inside the cage, but your risk is that if the rats chew on it, it will leak into the cage and make a huge mess. This way, the only part in the cage is the metal nozzle, and it drips a little bit, but if you spot clean, which I have a video on that I will link in the cards, then it's not that big a deal if it drips a little. So water bottles outside of the cage, not inside. You wouldn't believe how many people do it the other way around and then have problems. So yeah, we're gonna put food in, we're gonna put rats in, and then we'll be done. Rat 1. Rat 2, Sprinkles. Rat 3, Caramel. Rat 4, Fudge. Okay, so I've been watching them explore a little bit, and they're having trouble getting in that hammock. It's just a teeny bit too high. So I think I'm gonna add an extra ring. You can see the rings right there, and over here, and over here. I think I'm gonna add one more just so it's a little bit lower and they can get into it easier, because they're kind of having issues with it. So I'm gonna do that real quick. All right, so this is the cage layout. This is the first post-intro brand new cage layout. Post, I think that's right, yes. So they have been together as a group for 2 weeks now, and this is a complete and total cage change. Everything is clean and fresh. Everything's been scrubbed and washed, and you can see they're doing a good job. So we've got a ladder in the front that they can climb across. It's suspended sideways. We've got some bird branches to play on and climb on. I've got the big 16-inch wheel in the back for Fudge to run on because he does like to a little bit. We've got a tree trunk hide, which is right there with Marshy sitting on it. We have a hammock in the back, which has Caramel modeling. We've got a double hammock that matches it up here. Caramel. They're so silly. Oh my goodness, they panicked. We've got a litter box up here, which is not being used exclusively as a litter box. I just know my rats, when they get out of bed, they want somewhere to pee, and that gives them a spot to do that. I've got a tunnel going through the entire back of the cage over to here. I've got one of my popsicle stick hammocks, not hammocks, ladders right here. We've got 2 lava ledges going up to the litter box in the back. And then I've got another popsicle stick ladder of a different style up here. And there are also chew toys in all the corners pretty much.
He wants on camera too.
Up here, back there.
Somebody wants on camera, Mama.
And there. And then they've also got their little balls with the bells in them that they like to carry around. They've already been scatter fed, you can see that. So that's the cage for this video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you dislike it, give it a thumbs down, but feel free to let me know why in the comments below. I'd love it if you'd subscribe to my channel so that you know when I post more videos about our rats, DIYs, cage tours, or the miscellaneous mischief that we get up to. Normally this is where I would say bye, but I did want to add that if you want to know more about something in the cage specifically, please leave that in the comments as well. Bye. Thanks for watching.